So this is an unscripted talk about dementia and a child's perspective on dementia. So I am Jo, and this is
Jaxon.
Jaxon is my son. He's 13, and he has spent the longest part of his life dealing with my mum. He's Nanna, who got frontotemporal dementia in, what year was it?
2013.
I think it was 2013. Yeah. She was diagnosed. At the time I was studying neuropsychology, and I don't even know if you know this, but I was doing a course in dementia, and I remember ticking all these boxes in my head thinking, that's my mum, that's my mum, that's my mum. She has frontotemporal dementia, because I, at the time, like a lot of people, thought dementia meant you lost your memory. And that's true with Alzheimer's disease. It is the primary symptom of Alzheimer's disease, which is a type of dementia. But a lot of people don't realise that dementia is like an umbrella term. There's lots of different types of dementia. So Jaxon knows perhaps too much about dementia. So with frontotemporal dementia, as the name suggests, it's the front part of the brain, which is our personality and where we control our behaviour, where we put the brakes on our behaviour, and temporal, which is where our language is. So they're the two main things you see in FTD dementia. It's the behaviours that change and the language, and that's certainly what happened with my mum. That was the first sign that something wasn't right. And at the time when she started playing up, she was only about, I think it was 6 months since Pa had died. He died of cancer, so they had been separated, but she never got over him. So we attributed a lot of her behaviours to stress and grief, and at one point I was thinking it was because she was drunk all the time. She started drinking, and she was drinking in the morning, so all these weird behaviours, we were just writing them off. We were explaining them away. We now know they were because of dementia. So this video is to talk about what it's like for a child to have to go through that. We're only a very small family, very close, and for the longest part of our life it was just myself, Jaxon and Nanna. She was a saviour for me when I was a single mum with Jaxon, trying to work, trying to study, trying to look after Jax. So she did a lot of that heavy lifting earlier on, and I don't even think Jaxon remembers a lot of it because he was so little. So this is unscripted. We were going to have questions and prepare answers, but I thought it perhaps will be more natural just to talk. So, Jax,
yeah,
here we go. What's your first memory? Like, do you remember Nanna at all before she was sick?
Not really, but I do remember the times we would go to her house and she'd always have a bottle of water with ice in it in a plastic bag.
She loved her water and tomatoes.
Yeah.
She'd eat raw tomato. She'd go to the shop, buy a tomato and eat it like an apple. And what was your first memory of her starting to get unwell? Do you remember? Do you remember anything?
Not really.
No? Do you remember when she started acting strange? When she was going for long walks and we'd have to go out and try and find her?
Yeah, and if someone called her on like a blocked number, she'd just pick up the phone and start going off at them.
Yeah, she went through this stage, which we have to laugh because I think you have to find a way to cope, and humour is okay. She would pick up the phone. Do you want to say?
No, you can.
And she'd say, F off, things like that, without even knowing who it was. But that was part of the dementia too. She would say that everything was broken.
Yep.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
What was broken?
Facebook.
She'd ring us up. Facebook broken, oven broken, door broken, everything was broken. Stop fiddling. And we'd have to run around and fix whatever the problem was. Sometimes the oven just wasn't turned on. Sometimes the computer wasn't plugged in. Real simple things. And do you remember the big thing where we decided that, okay, maybe it's now time to put her into care? Do you remember that?
Yep.
What do you remember?
I remember that we were looking at a lot of places to try and get Nanna in, but because she just wasn't she couldn't control her behaviour. Nobody really wanted to take her, so
That's true.
it took a while to find a good spot to put her in.
She started acting really aggressively, which was not in her nature. She would abuse people randomly, even on the street, people she didn't know. So nowhere really wanted her. But the thing that we decided was the last straw was when she thought she'd locked herself out of the unit. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and she climbed up the ladder on the balcony.
She climbed up. She was on was it the first floor?
First or second.
First, I think it was the first floor, but it was a pretty high balcony. She was, how old would she have been?
60 something.
Early 60s. And she put a ladder against the balcony, climbed up to get in, and then she was hammering the door, trying to get the door, and the keys were just in a bag. Like, nothing, there wasn't an issue. And then we thought, leaving stoves on. She was leaving the oven on. She was leaving food in the fridge. Do you remember that?
Yeah, it'd be like, and you had to write the dates on it.
Food, yeah. Some of her meat was mouldy, and she wouldn't let us throw it out. She'd go crazy, like, no, not throw it out. So it became an issue of freedom versus safety, and we chose safety, and I still to this day wonder if it was the right choice. I don't know.
Yeah, I think it was, because if you didn't, she probably would have burnt something down, hurt herself and hurt other people.
Hurt others too, potentially. That's what could have happened. Then we put her into care, and it was horrible. My mother could not even begin to consider she had dementia, so the dementia word, the D word, banned. We were not allowed to say it. We had to pretend we were putting her into rehab for smoking or something.
Yeah.
And I remember taking her there, and everyone had to we're going to rehab for a couple of months. We knew it was forever, but this was what we had to do to try and make it easier for her. And I remember when we took her in that first time, the person that greeted us said, "Oh, where's the patient?" And I'm pointing to my mum. They said, "Oh, she looks too young." And it was just, I'll never forget that, because she was too young. FTD hits you when you are younger. And she was on the second floor in the nursing home. Do you remember what happened there?
She jumped out the window.
She jumped out of a second-story window. My goodness, she is lucky she didn't do significant damage. She twisted her ankle. I think
was it right under like a fence with like spikes on it?
Yeah, there was she could have killed herself. Then that nursing home wouldn't have her back, and then she was lost in the hospital system for weeks, and she had a horrible time in there. She was getting assaulted. She was assaulting other people. And that story went on and on, trying to get her into care. But as the disease got worse, those behaviours decreased, and now she's in advanced stage dementia. She's calm. But what was it like for you, Jaxon, visiting the nursing homes with, the dementia unit with all those people with dementia?
It was pretty scary, because I didn't really know what was going on. There was just people, that weren't very fortunate, and it was pretty scary going in there.
I remember you being scared. There were some people in particular you were very scared of. Claire was one. You scared of Claire?
No, it was the old guy. Can't remember his name.
Professor guy?
No.
I can't remember. But Jaxon, despite being young, because how old were you then?
6.
6. Was very brave, and he would help. He would clean and do tasks. They'd give him tasks to do. And we spent every other day in a nursing home for years. So from about age 4, 5, 6 to 7, 8, 9, 10, because we only moved to Queensland 2 years ago, 12. So more than half his life was just around dementia, and he became quite anxious as a result of that. So did I, and it wasn't the best life for him or me. So as my mum got more unwell, we decided it was time for us to have a fresh break, and I know that's what my mum would have wanted. We never left her, although at the moment with COVID it's very hard to see her, which is hard.
Yeah.
Because we never know when the last visit will be. But Jaxon, here's a question for you.
Yeah.
If you had your Nanna back, because these days she can't talk, In fact, Jaxon was perhaps the last one that could get a response from her. Do you remember that?
Yep.
She would respond to Jaxon. She loved Jaxon so much. And even when I would get nothing, Jaxon would walk in the room and her face would light up, and you could get her to give Jaxon a thumbs up or something. But now I don't think she does anything. I don't even know if she knows. There's no way to really know. But my question, Jax, is if you could speak to Nanna, real Nanna.
Yeah.
If you could say something to real Nanna and give her a message, what would it be?
I would just say to her that thank you for looking after me when I was little, and I'm a bit upset that I don't remember most of that stuff, and wish that she was still normal and could live up here in Queensland with us, because it was always her dream to spend the rest of her life up in Queensland around where we live, so it'd be nice if she was up here with us.
Yeah. I'd say I miss you, Mum. I think you always miss your Mum. We've missed her for a long time. I think that's the sad part, is we've been grieving her for a long time. And sometimes we both say, as hard as it is to say, that we kind of just wish she'd grow her wings and leave this earth and be free, because dementia's a cruel disease, and it's cruel for the patients, cruel for the families. And I hope one day they find a cure for dementia so that no one else ever has to experience this. But we miss you. I miss you, Mum. You miss Nanna?
Yeah.
Alright, and I'll put up some photos now and have some happy memories of our time with her. Thanks, Jaxon. Bye.
Bye.